I was asked to introduce the next speaker. So she has a bachelor's degree in politics science in education and human resources management. She is a member of the Mi'kmaq Station from Restigouche. Mrs. Metallic works for the has been working for the FNEC since March 2011. She was before the teacher in New Brunswick since 1998 to 2000. She's associated with Urban Council since 2000 and 2005. She's a technical programmer for the and director of human resources for Urban Councils from 2007 to 2011. She's also directed the school council. She likes to. She realized that there are a lot of challenges, but there is also a lot of advantages. Within her current functions as an analyst in research and development, Mrs. Metallic has access to all of the knowledge and expertise of 22 First Nation communities representing 8 different nations. So let me introduce to you Treena Metallic.
I always end up breaking. Okay, does it work? Okay, as a brief introduction, and to sort of preface my presentation, I just want to give you a 30-second, 40-second background on this project. Thanks. I'm perfect, yeah. We tend not to want to look back at the Harper government, and we choose not to reflect on a lot of the damage he inflicted on education, First Nations education. And there was a lot of negative messages coming out from the Harper government about First Nations and First Nations education. One of the big messages they kept trying to send out was that as First Nations, we don't have systems of education. We are not the experts in education, and that was a constant message. And it was a message that angered us. It was a message that concerned us because we knew we had the capacity. We knew we had a long way to go, but we knew that we were experts in what we were doing, and we knew that the people in our communities were dedicated to their child's education. So at a General Assembly meeting at Lac Simon, I think it was in 2014, 2015, the representatives came together to decide to articulate and develop governance standards in 7 key areas. And these were governance standards. These were standards that expressed how we manage and how we want to manage and where we want to go in terms of developing local systems that are strong, supported by local people, and well informed by Indigenous languages and cultures. So out of that meeting, in about a year and a half, we had developed, with collaboration from every community, a series of governance standards that span 7 domains. One of the domains was parental and community involvement, and that's what I'm going to sort of talk about here today. It's super brief. So I'm not aware to what extent that these standards are made public in your communities. I know we've worked a lot with the representatives, we've worked a lot with directors, and we've presented it to chiefs and councils. But as to how the communities have shared that information with their parents, I don't have that information. So one of the things we want to ask, if you knew, or do you know, that the FNEC and its member communities are dedicated, and we want to work together to make parental and community involvement a priority. And this is sort of a vague statement, it's a grand statement, it's a broad statement. And this statement is adaptable to your realities. It's for you to take this statement, it's for you to go home with it and to make it something that reflects your communities, that works for your students, and that strengthens your systems of education. And parental involvement is absolutely key in all this happening. Oh, I back up. Okay, so the committee members for this particular area for parental and community involvement, we had representatives from Geskabekiak, Kanawake, Lac-Simon, Mastuyash, Wimotashi, and Winaway. And these people worked with FNEC staff members to develop governance standards. So we had a lot of representation. So we're asking, or we hope that you're aware of what the essential components are for governance and parental community involvement that could contribute to student success. And what the committee did who worked on this domain was they divided the themes of parental and community involvement into five areas. So the 5 themes of parental and community involvement are involvement policies and procedures, involvement structures, communication, how you communicate, how people communicate in terms of this theme, recruiting, how to get more people involved, either formally, informally, and building parental and community capacity. Communities who choose to adopt a more formal approach to this, they might want to work on their capacity to do so. And communities who want to build informal networks might want help and support in doing so as well. Okay, so this slide is, we've done the work, we've developed the standards, and what was happening next, or what's supposed to happen next, is that we're supposed to be in the community supporting any community who wants to engage in a parental and community involvement process. So we were, at some point, we want to work with the communities to sit down with parents and any other interested stakeholder to look at the standards that were developed by the communities and see how it works for your community, for your local situation. So the FNEC has been building our capacity to offer that support. We have a team dedicated to creating support, for providing information, for providing guidance, for doing some of the work, for helping communities share information between each other. And for some examples of what we can do now, what our capacity is at FNEC level, at the regional level, is that we can help a community conduct working meetings. We can come into the community and help facilitate discussions on current situations. We can help you examine what's working well, what can be improved. We can help you measure what you're doing now against the standards. And these standards are voluntary. They're what works. If you don't like standard X, you don't need to do standard X. If you want to do standard Y, R, and T, perfect. We're here to help for that as well. So we can help you measure what you have against the standards that you prioritize. And basically, we want to establish a primary objective is to have your policies, your structures that are based on the values of your community. And sort of implicit or sort of not stated is that we are hoping, or that it is the intention, that these policies reflect a lot of your Indigenous culture, how you relate to each other traditionally, what sort of structures you had pre-contact or even today that work for your community. So we want to sort of help inform that. We can come into the communities and we can assess where you are in relation to the standards. We can come in, and after we assess, in full partnership with community people, with the parents, we can help develop an action plan that will help the communities meet these standards. And again, these standards are voluntary. We can also help draft policies. We can help draft terms of reference. We can help you implement your community action plan. We can find and provide training to parents and teachers and find activities and so on and so forth. And everything that we do here, everything that I've just stated, it's done in full collaboration. This is not something we're going to take and do ourselves and then give back. This is something that we're going to work with you voluntarily along the way. It's not in the presentation, but each of the 5 areas have a specific set of governance standards. And for example, we talked about the first theme. It's parental and community involvement policies and procedures. So the first standard in this area is the school has a parental and community involvement policy and procedure that defines its approach, values, and objectives. This can be formal, it can be informal, but it's something that's developed collaboratively. It's something that parents had big input in. The next standard under theme 1, which is parental and community involvement, is the parental and community involvement policies are adapted by the appropriate decision-making bodies. Who makes the decisions in your community with regards to students, with regards to your children? Is it chief and council? Is it a parent group? Is it something else? So whatever policies that are developed through this process, it has to be ratified and adopted by the right people. And these are just some examples. We have these books available. We have to update them because we've added new standards, but later on, if you give us your email, we can email you a copy of what we have so far. I'm running a little long. And I guess the question we have, or the question that we want to discuss with the communities is your community making parental involvement and community involvement a priority? Talking a lot about the parents, but there's community resources that can also be very involved in your education. I've said a lot, and I don't know if I'm being clear. I'm very familiar with this file, so I might be assuming it's very familiar to me, but I understand this is probably, for a lot of you, the first time hearing about this. Does anybody have any questions right now? Oh, I guess the thing I encounter when I present things like this is that it's very dry. And it is very dry. And it comes alive when the communities take ownership of it, and when the communities look at these parental and community governance standards, and when they adapt it, when they make it their own, when they apply it to their students. That's the power of these standards, and that's the power of what we're doing here today. It's to facilitate, or it's to help parents and community members assume their rightful position in their child's education. Again, it sounds grandiose, but it's very meaningful, and I hope that we're able to share these with you. I hope that we can come into your communities and work with you on developing and strengthening what you have in terms of parental and community involvement. I'm at the end of my presentation. Any questions? I think I have one.
It's like I had said earlier when I did the opening this morning. It's been 16 years since I've sat with the FNEC. And at one time in 2002, all of this was almost taken away from us. I remember me and Gilbert White Duck were in Calgary. And they sent government officials over there, and they were talking about all this sort of stuff. And we've been trying for years, because I sat on a Head Start program, is how to get parental involvement in education in the community. It's a whole different group. It's the group that I was here. There's one here, her name is Nadine Groloui, and I sat with her for the Head Start program. And this is the thing, it's not only me, but there was about 12 of us or 15 of us that we were trying to work this thing out. It's finally a reality. We got it set up. Now I feel better that it's being accomplished. Now it's in your hands if you accept it and to learn it more. Because I remember 2002 when we were in Calgary, these 3 officials that Stephen Harper sent over there, they were talking about the Marshall case. And then they were talking about the Mitchell case. Hey, that's fishing and border crossing rights. I said, the other one, it's on voting. What's that got to do with education? And their faces got all red. And then I explained to them, I said, wait a minute. I said, in 1972, education was transferred to First Nations. We have lawyers, we have judges, we have doctors, we have people in high levels. Even one guy, Elijah Harper, with his eagle feather, stopped the Beach Lake Accord. It's because again, we're learning and we're getting smarter. You're not going to pull the wool over our eyes anymore. Education is that if we do it in the right way, maybe in the future one of our children or grandchildren, maybe one of my great-grandchildren will run as Prime Minister of Canada. And you think about that. They had Barack Obama running, and he got in as president. What's to stop any of First Nations to support one of our kids today and teach them to become a Prime Minister of Canada? Is that a thought that ever came to you? For me, I've always been thinking of this. And a lot of the elders, they always said that. I said, maybe one day, maybe we'll pick one of the young people to get into politics and become. He might not make it, but at least it'll be out there that one of our young children, as a First Nations person, is running as a Prime Minister. For me now, I can go home, I can relax now. I finally seen all the work that we've done in the past is becoming a reality. And it's up to you in how you implement it into your community. Like she said, they're willing to go. Because we've had a lot of meetings. A lot of parents would come. This was in Quebec City, in Quebec City, Montreal. Once a year we used to call meetings, and we invite all the communities. And for them to voice what are the concerns in your communities, because we don't know. We're sitting on this committee, but we didn't know what the communities, what youth were going through. What were you lacking? We're advocates. We are supposed to help you when you get bogged down and you don't know which way to turn. You got the FNEC to call upon and to help. And in all the meetings that I've gone to in education, I never seen any chiefs come. The only one that used to come around was, what's his name? Ghislain Picard. He supported everything that we were doing. Okay, he was really interested in education. But most of the communities, maybe there was maybe one or two chiefs from different communities from up north that would come down. But other than that, you never seen. So me, I often tell the chiefs that that's not your mandate. Well, how come you're not worried about the kids? How come you take a mandate for education, but you do not support the young people? They're going to be the future leaders. The youth won't be around when these kids grow up. In order to have strong leaders, we have to have them educated and in good health. The older ones, we've gone through all of this, we don't want to go through anymore. We can only do is share what we've learned and to try to give you direction and guidance. And I wish you all the best. Like in our saying, ayawas, ayayota. Hopefully it'll work in your communities. But whatever you learned here, we're all here for a purpose. You learn as much as you can. Now the next step is how do you relate in your communities and get the parents more involved in the education. It's heavy because the teachers, when they're teaching, there's not they don't get many thanks. It's a very unthankful job, and we have to support the teachers because of all the heavy work that they do. It's a lot of stress on them. For me as an elder, I'll keep staying on with this until such time that I cannot travel anymore, if anything should ever happen. But I will always support everything that goes on with FNEC, and I support all of your communities. Make sure that when you get home, sit down for a day or two, think about what you heard today for the next 2 days at this meeting. Then you have to relay it back into your communities. And hopefully that your voice will be heard. The elder said even if you repeat it 100 times until one person hears it. Because in our ways, there's a ceremony done where you clean the ears, take the dirt out of the ears because our ears get full of garbage, all the negative stuff. They say dirt, take the dirt out so you cannot plant anything else in your ear. and make sure that you clean the minds, that you think properly, and clear the throat so that you're able to speak. Because some elders said we walk with mist before our eyes. We don't see what's coming. We all walk with our heads down. We don't see what's coming. You got to clean the mind, body, and the spirit in order to continue your duties as from your communities. Use as parents, what do you want for your children? What did you receive when you were going to school? Where's your education? What was lacking? You don't want your children to go through the same thing. You know, there's a big problem in many communities because of that residential school. But we have to teach our young ones for them to improve and make their communities much better. In our ways, it's the guy in Oahu. We work hand in hand together, we can accomplish many things. But as individuals, no. I think right now you're going to be connecting with everybody in here and call upon the other communities to help you. There's elders in your communities that you can rely upon to help you along. For when we pass on, all our knowledge, everything is gone. For me, whatever I've learned, I always try to share it as much as I can. Because if anything should happen to me, leaving here tomorrow to get home to my home and my family, then it's gone with me. And then when an elder passes away in our communities, and you look upon that person is no longer there that you can go speak to or ask for guidance and direction. While they're here, go and talk to them and sit with them, have conversations. Someone will say, pick their brains and ask questions about what do they see, what do they want for your communities. Because we always talk about the future generations that are to come. Well, now yous are here. For yous that came here for this meeting, yous are all considered as elders. Now you got to take that knowledge back to your communities and start to share it. And what do you want for your community? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, he's absolutely right. I'm going to close with just this last statement. Canada is currently working with First Nations to transform education once again. It's more important now than ever, perhaps ever it has been, for parents to be involved in this process. At the end of their mandate, they want something different, they want something new, and your voices are essential, your voices are vital. We need to know what the parents want. We're the experts, or we're developing our expertise in pedagogy and governance and whatnot, but the parents, the aunties, the grandparents, the uncles, they're the ultimate expert in what the kids are all about. So again, I encourage you to use our services. We're more than willing to help. We're super excited to help. And also to go back into your communities and think about ways that you can really, really be involved in determining what paths your education systems take. That's it for me. I'm going to say goodbye. Good conference.